For centuries, the state derived its legitimacy from a simple idea. Citizens surrendered a portion of their freedom, paid taxes, and accepted the authority of government in return for security, justice, and public services. This was the essence of the social contract. The citizen was not a customer, he was a stakeholder in a political community. Governments were judged not merely by what they delivered, but by whether they represented the people. The model is beginning to change. The challenge confronting governance today is not simply bureaucratic inefficiency, corruption, or political dysfunction. The deeper challenge is that the world for which the modern state was designed no longer exists. The Westphalian state emerged in an era where governments controlled territory, monopolized force, collected taxes, and directly provided most essential services. Power was concentrated. Authority flowed through bureaucratic hierarchies. The state governed while markets operated within boundaries established by the state. Globalization, technology, and the rise of multinational corporations have gradually blurred those boundaries. Today, many corporations possess revenues larger than the GDP of entire countries. Digital platforms influence public opinion more effectively than the state broadcasters. Private firms operate infrastructure, communications network, transportation systems, hospitals, educational institutions, and even security functions once considered the exclusive domain of governments. As a result, governance is increasingly shifting from direct provision to coordination. States are no longer accepted to do everything themselves. Instead, they regulate, supervise, contract, and partner with private actors. In many countries, public services once delivered by government departments are now provided through private companies, public-private partnerships, or outsourced networks. This transformation reflects a deeper intellectual debate. The German sociologist Max Weber believed bureaucracy was the most rational form of organization for large societies. Rules, hierarchy, and specialization created predictability and fairness. But later, thinkers exposed the limitations of that model. Herbert Simon argued that administrators never possess complete information. Meanwhile, Friedrich Hayek demonstrated that knowledge is dispersed across society and often processed more effectively through markets than through centralized hierarchies. This tension between hierarchy and markets lies at the heart of the modern governance crisis. Hierarchies provide stability, accountability, and uniformity. Markets provide flexibility, innovation, and speed. One values control, the other values adaptation. Neither can fully replace the other because they are solving different problems. For decades, many governments attempted to resolve the tension by importing market principles into public administration. Privatization, deregulation, and outsourcing were promoted as solutions to bureaucratic inefficiency. The expectation was straightforward. If markets produce efficiently, then governments should behave more like businesses. Yet efficiency and legitimacy are not the same thing. Citizens do not judge governments the way consumers judge companies. A business can abandon an unprofitable customer. A government cannot abandon an unprofitable citizen. Markets reward efficiency, states are expected to uphold fairness, social cohesion, and public order. This is why governance remains fundamentally different from management. Yet something important is changing. Increasingly, citizens are evaluating governments less on ideology or representation and more on outcomes. They care about whether the lights stay on, whether jobs exist, whether streets are safe, whether schools function, and whether public institutions deliver results. In other words, legitimacy is slowly shifting from democratic participation to performance delivery. This trend is especially visible across much of the developing world. Elections remain important, but citizens increasingly measure governments by what they achieve rather than what they promise. A government that delivers security, economic growth, and reliable sources often enjoys greater public confidence than the one that offers democratic procedures but fails to govern effectively. The implications are profound. The future state may not disappear, but it will almost certainly look different. Rather than acting as a sole provider of services, it will increasingly function as a coordinator of complex networks involving cooperation, technology platforms, financial institutions, local governments, and civil society organizations. Governance will become less about command and more about orchestration. This creates a new dilemma. If governments govern alongside powerful private actors, who ensures accountability? Citizens can vote out politicians, but they cannot vote out multinational corporations, digital platforms, or financial institutions that increasingly shape daily life. As political authority and economic power become intertwined, the traditional mechanism of democratic control becomes weaker. This may become the defining governance challenge of the 21st century. The debate is no longer whether the state or the market is superior. The real question is how to ensure public accountability in a world where governance is shared between both. The future will likely belong neither to pure bureaucracies nor to pure markets, but to hybrid systems that combine the legitimacy of the state with the efficiency of networks. The societies that succeed will be those that can align private capability and public purposes without allowing one to overwhelm the other. The central question, then, is not whether citizens are becoming customers. It is whether future governance can preserve the rights of citizens while increasingly delivering services through systems designed by customers. The answer to that question may determine the shape of political order for the rest of the century.